If you know anything about travel filmmaking, then you'll probably come across Leonardo Dalessandri. In case you haven't, Leonardo is an Italian filmmaker and director, and way back in 2014, he uploaded a film called The Watchtower of Turkey. It was a travel film highlighting Turkey and all its people. Since then, Watchtower of Turkey has inspired many other travel filmmakers including Sam Kolder, Brandon Lee, myself. In this video, I'll be analyzing and breaking down the film Watchtower of Turkey by Leonardo Dalessandri so that we all learn and appreciate the film a little bit more. By the way, while doing my research, I stumbled on an interview published online by MusicBed with their interview with Leonardo himself. So some of this information comes from that article. If you want, I'll leave a link in the description so you guys can read that for yourselves. Another thing is, I apologize for the background noise. It's currently raining, so sorry about that. Alright, let's start with the basics, starting off with gear. With regards to gear, in his own words, Leonardo says, "I like to use cheap and easy cameras." To be more exact, he uses a Panasonic GH4, a GoPro, and occasionally his iPhone. Yeah, his iPhone. And that loadout is pretty practical when you think about it. Imagine if you're making a travel film and you're walking around this cool place. You want to be able to grab your camera and capture your shot, capture the moment before it disappears. Not having multiple lenses, a drone, or a gimbal really helps you to focus on what's important, like composition. Alright, next let's move on to the filming techniques that Leonardo uses. One thing that stands out a lot in the Watchtower of Turkey is Leonardo's use of movement. Leonardo is a master of movement, and one of the things he likes to do is to match the camera motion to what the subject in the frame is doing. Like when this cellist moves his hand, or in this sequence as the subject moves the fishes around. This use of movement creates a illusion of not being bound to anything. It can also make for really good transitions, but more on that later. Leonardo also uses hyperlapses or moving time lapses to show the passage of time and also to show the architecture and the landscape behind Turkey. He also uses slow motion, which creates an illusion of suspended time and reality. Another technique that Leonardo likes to use has to do with what's inside the frame, or in other words, subject matter. The film Watchtower of Turkey is predominantly consisted of shots of the people of Turkey. Leonardo captures them going about their daily activities and combines that with a longer focal length, creating portraits of the Turkish people. Doing this creates a super immersive experience like you were actually there. I mean, what's a country without its people? And that's something that I really appreciate about this film, how Leonardo gets into the nitty-gritty of Turkey, capturing not only its landscape, but its people. That is something I don't see being done too much nowadays, especially with filmmakers just putting themselves or their girlfriends in the shot. Don't do that. Unless you're trying to show how much fun it is being in that place, don't do that. Agree with me or not, doing that is kind of selfish. When you make travel films, you're supposed to show people what it's like to be there. And I don't really think that having shots of you does anything. Now let's talk about the editing behind the Watchtower of Turkey, starting with the sequence and pace. The main sort of pace in the Watchtower of Turkey really depends on what the soundtrack is doing. At the start, you'll hear a soft piano, and accompanied with that is slow motion shots of Turkey. Likewise, the shots within that section have a slow pace. As the song builds up, the pacing gets faster too, building up tension and suspense. Then somewhere near the end of the film, the music hits an abrupt tempo change, and all of a sudden, it gets slower. It's at this point where all the tension from the fast pace bleeds off a little bit and we get to relax. And before you know it, the music hits again and we're back to business. At the end, Leonardo puts some shots that we've seen at the beginning of the film, such as this close-up of this girl, and that sort of completes the loop or the cycle of the film. This can make for a very satisfying ending, especially through the roller coaster that we've just been through. Now let's go to the part where everybody only seems to talk about, and that is Leonardo's creative use of transitions. Remember how we talked about camera movement earlier? That movement can make for some really smooth transitions. While editing, Leonardo likes to match up clips similar in motion. Like in this sequence, as the camera pans to the right after a shot of the balloons, Leonardo cuts to a shot of a cellist, then to this drummer. Doing this creates a sense of continuity among shots and hides the point where the cut happens. One of my favorite examples of this is here in this sequence, where the shot of the fabric leads to a fisherman, which leads to a bird, which leads to a train. You get the idea, and that's all achieved by a cleverly placed cut. No additional VFX or After Effects knowledge needed. Another type of transition that Leonardo uses is the mask transition. Usually he'll have something cover the frame, then use a mask to get rid of the other side as the object passes. He uses these mask transitions to complement the in-camera transitions we talked about earlier. Like here, where the camera moves up, Leonardo masks to a shot of a tower. Another thing that Leonardo does to transition between clips is to match the subject in one shot to the subject in the next shot. This is called a match cut. Some examples of these are here, where this shot of a plane is preceded by a bird, and also here where this shot of a woman rejoicing leads to a shot of people worshipping. One of my favorite uses of the match cut is in this sequence, where the hyperlapse transitions into a basket thing, which transitions to a kid on a swing. 3 different shots, but somehow they make sense. There are honestly so many of these transitions within the film, it's kinda ridiculous. Another thing that I like to point out is Leonardo's use of compositing. An example of this is this hyperlapse, which transitions to another hyperlapse. But in between the 2 hyperlapses, Leonardo composites a shot of some birds flying. Doing this really makes the cut seamless, as if you were just panning the camera from one place to another. In addition, Leonardo also occasionally composites some light leaks into the video to hide some of the cuts he makes. To put it all together, Leonardo has some great editing sense, and it's pretty darn obvious by how smoothly the edit flows together. Let's talk about sound for a little bit, shall we? The sound design in the Watchtower of Turkey is pretty minimal, and it's used to emphasize what's going on within the frame, as well to transition between clips. Leonardo also uses a voiceover at the beginning of the film, talking about Turkey in a more humanized form. Do you hear me? And this just really adds to the human element of the film. And that's it. If there's one word to describe Watchtower of Turkey, it's immersive. Very, very immersive. All the attention to detail and the well-thought idea behind the whole film creates for a very, very immersive experience, bringing you across Turkey in the matter of 3.5 minutes. Leonardo, if you're watching this video, hats off to you, bro. That's all for today's video. If you guys did enjoy or learn something from it, feel free to like this video or to leave a comment down in the comment section. I'll love to hear your thoughts on what the film was like for you. If you're new here, feel free to subscribe. I try to upload every other week. I have some cool stuff planned in the future, including maybe a short film. So stay tuned for that, subscribe, and I guess I'll see you in the next video.